So I'm going to do a quick helpful review with some of the things that I see students are having problems with on their second midterm. So one of them is exponent. So we're going to do a quick overall review of some exponent rules. So if I have negative 3 gets squared, this is saying all of negative 3 gets squared. So remember, that means I'm going to take this base, which is negative 3, and go negative 3 times negative 3, and negative times a negative is a positive, so that gives me a positive 9. If I have negative 3 squared, only the 3 is getting squared. The negative here is not getting squared. So this can be rewritten as negative and then 3 times 3, because it's the 3 that's getting squared but not the negative. And that gives me a negative 9. So that's really important. If there's parentheses, all of it gets squared. If there are not parentheses, only that number gets squared. So if I had 2x cubed, here again, the 2 is not getting cubed, just the x. So that stays as 2x cubed. But if I had 2x and all of that was cubed, then I would say 2x times 2x times 2x, which could give me a nice grand total of 8x cubed. Now let's look and see how that's different than if I have negative exponents. So negative exponents like this, negative 2x cubed. All of this is getting cubed, so it would be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 x cubed, and that would give me negative 8x cubed. That would be different from 2x to the negative 3. So when we're looking at this, now we're going to look at negative exponents. Up here, we were just looking at whether the base was negative or positive. That was these problems up here. Now we're looking at negative exponents. When I look at negative exponents, the rule is you flip the part that is raised to the negative power. So you take its reciprocal. You don't take everything and take a reciprocal of everything that is there. You only take the piece that is raised to the negative power. So when I am looking at this example, 2x to the negative 3, the 2 is not being raised to the negative 3 power. Only the x is. The x has the negative exponent. So what I do is I flip that x down into the denominator. I keep it to the third power. Because I flipped it, I get rid of that exponent. The 2 stays right where it was. It stays up on top. It does not move. That would be different than this problem, where I have 2x to the negative 3. Now everything is being raised to the negative 3 power. So all of this gets flipped down into the denominator, and when I flip it down into the denominator, it is no longer negative, it becomes positive. So now I have 1 over 2x cubed, but I know 2 cubed is 8 and x cubed is 3. Notice when I have negative exponents, that does not tell me whether the number is negative or not. That just tells me that the exponent is negative, and the only thing I do with a negative exponent is I take its reciprocal and flip it upside down. Okay, now let's take a look at some more examples. So another example, if I have negative 2x to the negative 3, I notice I have a negative here. This negative exponent has nothing whatsoever to do with the negative in front of the 2. Does not matter. What it does tell me, though, is that I'm going to take, because I have parentheses, all of this is going to be flipped down into the denominator. It's going to all be raised to the third power. I get rid of the negative because I put it down in the denominator. I flipped it. But now I need to take what's in the denominator and I need to raise it to the third power. And I remember negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 gives me a negative 8. And then the x becomes cubed also. This problem would be different than this problem in that negative 2x to the negative 3. The negative 2 stays right where it is. This exponent of negative 3 has nothing to do with that negative 2. So the negative 2 just stays right where it's at. I'm going to flip that x to the negative 3. I'm going to flip it because of the negative exponent. It goes down into the denominator, and now I have x to the third. Now, hey, if I had a problem that looked like this, negative 2 over x to the negative 3, now I have a negative exponent in the bottom, so this is a whole different problem than what we were just looking at. But if I had an exponent in the bottom that was negative, again, all I do is flip the piece that has the negative exponent, so that negative 2 would stay in the numerator, has nothing to do with a negative exponent, and I'll take that x and I'll flip that up into the numerator, keep the 3 as the exponent, but I get rid of that negative sign. So, that's how you do negative exponents. We'll take a look at a few more in just a second. If I have 2 to the 0 power, again, anything raised to the 0 power equals 1, so I say that's 1. If I have negative 2 to the 0 power, this is not in parentheses, so the 2 gets raised to the 0 power, the negative just stays there. So this is negative 1. That would be different than if I had negative 2 to the 0 power. Negative 2 to the 0 power would be 1, because all of this is being raised to the 0 power. So if you had smiley face to the 0 power, that equals 1. If you had a negative smiley face to the 0 power, that equals negative 1.